I don't believe what I just saw.
This is one of the great moments in the history of baseball.
I believe in miracles. Yes!
Is this the dagger?
May 17th on This Day in Sports.
Too loud.
In today's episode, Betsy crushes the field. The first ever Run for the Roses. The Hammer starts his own very exclusive club. The Great One gets shut out. The FA Cup winner was who? A pro bowler lasts longer than anyone else. An NHL player's modest little side hustle begins in Hamilton. Plus, this episode's Dork Draft has the three of us choosing who had the greatest potential what-if career that was ruined by injuries.
Great rehearsal. Let's do it again.
No, okay. I think I
Stop
nailed that
goofing
one.
around now, man. Let's do it. Let's do it for real. Oh wait, that was for real.
We're keeping that. Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, next
You know
time,
what? Before we jump in, I'm not done. I gotta. Before we jump in, Sandy, tell us about our sponsor.
Absolutely, Matt. Thanks so much. We're proud to welcome Kevin Barber.
Why is everyone shouting? Your mic is run in front of you.
We are proud. I'll go to a smoother voice.
We don't have a live audience.
I'll go smoother.
I just Mike just
You're still
Mike
shouting.
just threw this Mike just threw this intro at me at the last minute, and I thought I'd bring a little
Right.
bring a little
Shouting.
Shouting.
Well, I'm going to bring you a smooth cabin shout out, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring it down.
Yeah.
Cabin Barber and Gentleman Supply. We are proud to welcome Cabin Barber and Gentleman Supply on board as our sponsor. Whether you have difficult to cut hair, a challenging beard, or just generally a combative person.
How many episodes? How many locations are there?
Stop it! Cabin is the place to be. And it's not just a credible barber shop. It's also a gentleman's supply shop, meaning you can get everything from personal grooming products to fancy socks to Cabin branded apparel. We're all desperately trying to get one of those Cabin sweatshirts, and we got one last episode, friends. So Cabin has 3 locations, including the Port Credit location that are now recording from. Right now, we are in Port Credit. You can also go down to the Queens Quay location. You can also go down to the Union Station location. If you're in the GTA, hit up Cabin. Get a shave, get a cut, get a ton of compliments when you roll out there with a Cabin fresh look. For more, check out cabinforlife.ca. Cabinforlife.ca. All right, we nailed it.
That's it.
Here we go. Hey, This Day in Sports, May 17th. Mike, want to take one?
Yeah, sure. May 17th, 1973, just 4 days after his 23rd birthday, California Angels outfielder Bobby Valentine suffered multiple compound fractures in his leg when he attempted to scale the chain link fence in Anaheim Stadium to rob a home run ball. That tells you how long ago that was. There was a chain link fence.
Thank you.
Valentine, a top prospect who had been the PCL MVP in 1970, was hitting .302 at the time of the injury, was never the same afterwards. He lost speed and mobility due to the severity of the leg injury. 2 days earlier, he was playing center field when Angels teammate Nolan Ryan threw his first career no-hitter. Years later, he would be Ryan's manager with the Texas Rangers when Ryan threw the 6th and 7th no-hitters of his career. Bobby Valentine also claims to have invented the wrap sandwich. I'm not kidding, because he owned a restaurant. His claim is that he invented the wrap sandwich. I'm sure a lot of people in a lot of countries would argue with him, but nevertheless. This is important because it ties to our draft.
Yes, thank you very much.
That's our cue. That's our lead into the draft for this episode. Next.
In 1970, Henry Aaron hit the 3,000th hit of his career versus Cincinnati Reds pitcher Wayne Simpson. Aaron is now one of only 7 players in MLB history to have both 3,000 hits and 500 home runs. The others being Miguel Cabrera, Eddie Murray, Rafael Palmeiro, Alex Rodriguez, Albert Pujols, and Willie Mays. But on this day, he became the first to do so. Willie Mays would become the second member of this club just 6 weeks later. But Aaron was the first.
It's amazing how their careers kind of mirrored each other, especially that they're both from Alabama.
Yeah.
They both were sort of played like their careers kind of peaked right along the same time.
Yeah.
Those two men are kind of forever like two of the Mount Rushmore baseball players of all time. Kind of came from the same place at the same time. Like it's pretty amazing.
It's pretty incredible they did they achieved that within 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
Yeah,
it's all tied in. Sandy?
Yes, sir. All right. Well, in 1979, Seattle's Jack Sikma had 33 points and 11 rebounds and a 114-110 win over Phoenix in Game 7 the Western Conference Finals, advancing the Sonics to the finals for the second consecutive year. Seattle would avenge their loss to the Bullets in last year's finals, beating Washington in 5 games to win their first and only NBA title. Seattle basketball, friends. Catch the spirit.
It's so weird they don't have a team still.
Yeah, it's weird, and there's been so much rumblings about getting, when the Kraken came to there, they thought, well, we can use that. Can we use that arena? Can we make that multi-sport? Can we make it happen? I do remember going up in the Space Needle, looking down and seeing where they used to play. And it looks like a strip mall, like a boxed strip mall. It looks like a big Pizza Hut or something like that. It's not a great place to play. I can see why they abandoned that place.
Just the Sonics always seemed like such an iconic NBA team from a certain period, right? And then like for them to not, it's just weird.
It's really weird. I wish they did get a team again.
I'm sure they will eventually. I'm sure they'll remedy it at some point. But.
Sure. So many legendary players came out of there. And I always remember as a kid looking at like past champions and going, Sonics won, hey? 79.
Just once. Yeah. That was it. I know. 1983, the Islanders defeated Edmonton 4-2 to sweep the Oilers in 4 games for their 4th consecutive Stanley Cup win. In those 4 cup-winning years, 4 different Islanders players won the Conn Smythe Trophy as MVP. Mike Bossy, Brian Trottier, Billy Smith, and Butch Goring. Bossy also became the second NHL player ever to score the cup-winning goal in back-to-back years. They held Wayne Gretzky without a goal for the entire series. And it was the second year in a row that New York swept their opponents in the finals. They lost just 3 finals games over the course of those 4 cup years.
Well, I feel like you came for Gretzky there, so I'm going to go. I'm going to go with the great one. Back in May 17th, 1987, Wayne Gretzky became the first NHL player to reach 200 career playoff points when he assisted on a Paul Coffey goal in the 3rd period of Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals versus Philadelphia. The Oilers won the game 4-2 and won the Cup in 7 games over the Flyers that year. Gretzky, of course, he finished his career with 382 playoff points. Messier's second with 295.
295, okay.
So Gretzky 382 playoff points, Messier 295. Crosby, I think, has 201 right now, I think.
Clearly the active leader.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Matt, you like going back in time. May 17th, 1925, Tri Speaker recorded his 3,000th MLB hit off of Washington Senators pitcher Tom Zachary. At the time, he was the 5th player ever to reach the milestone. He remains 5th all-time in career hits with 3,514, and his career batting average of 345 is second highest all-time behind Ty Cobb. Despite the high career average, he only won 1 AL batting title during his 20-year MLB career because Cobb won all of them. The only year he bested Cobb was in 1916 when he batted 386, and Cobb only, in quotations, hit 371 that year. So interesting, Speaker and Cobb, because we talked about this in our episode. We talked about weird places people ended up, and Cobb ended up in Philly. And in that same time, when it was Speaker was also caught up in that scandal, he was gone. And I think, is that when I'm trying to remember where he went from to, but I feel like, I'm not going to figure that out. But he also went to a weird team too, because they both teams said we don't want him if they were involved in the scandal. So Cobb and Speaker at the same time. They were really tied up together quite a bit. All right, Mike's beer is overflowing.
Sorry,
he's partying over there. He just won the cup.
My jeans.
Mike just won the cup in his jeans.
Yeah, I'm celebrating.
Mike, where are you going to go?
1964, NHL defenseman Tim Horton, an Ontario native and longtime Toronto Maple Leafs player who'd recently been traded to the Rangers, opened the very first Tim Hortons coffee and donut shop in Hamilton, Ontario. Now, you may have heard of it. The place turned out to be a bit of a bust, I think. Records of how the place went, it was hard to find. You know, I don't know if it really took off, but it's interesting that he opened. A little personal note about Tim Horton. The night that Tim Horton died, he was driving his car from Toronto to Buffalo. He died on the QEW, I would say approximately, and we were living there at the time, 200 meters from our house.
Whoa.
We lived on Cayuga Avenue in St. Catharines, which was right by the Lake Street exit of the highway, and he died like almost like if you walked out my back window, it was about 100 feet to the highway, or maybe 150 feet to the highway, and it would have been maybe another 150 feet to the left towards Maywood School. Yeah. And that's where his car crashed and he died. I was like 2. Yeah. But that's my dad always talks about. He remembers that night there was cops and like they woke him up kind of thing. We were that close.
Wow.
Too bad the restaurant didn't take off for him.
Mike, you're being comedic.
No.
But you must know Tim Hortons is a massive success.
No.
You don't know that?
Is it?
Mike, you're an idiot, but you know that there's a Tim Hortons.
I like that. Like, you know what? I love that when you drive in Ontario or really anywhere in Canada, on every exit sign, there's a sign that says Tim Hortons. I feel like that's kind of redundant. At
you
this
know
point,
that's
right?
going to
Like,
happen.
Yeah.
Do we even need it? We know there's a Tim Hortons at every exit. Like every 8 feet in Canada, there has to be a Tim Hortons somewhere.
Yeah, like it's more of a surprise if there's an Arby's.
At
a Canadian
I feel
exit.
like that's right.
Yeah.
If you have a rarer place, I think we can just
St.
assume,
Hubert's.
right?
You know, that's rare.
Yeah, I like the.
I always say
Saint Hubert. Saint Hubert.
Thank you so much for the French pronunciation. You know, that's a big debate in Canada, actually. Which is the better gravy, Swiss chalet, Swiss chalet or Saint Hubert?
Well, it's not a gravy, really, is it? It's a sauce.
Sauce, I
It's a
guess.
sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone like Saint Hubert's?
Oh yeah.
My mom loved it. Yeah, you like Saint Hubert's?
I did like it, yeah.
Frank's going to chime in here real quick.
Yeah,
All
there's
right.
still some closer Kingston way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to go there after fishing tournaments and stuff. And
Prominent in Montreal still.
Yeah.
Everywhere in Montreal.
Actually,
Mike, you love
good.
Mike, you love the Swiss chalet.
Yeah, I don't mind Swiss Chalet. I mean, I don't love it.
What?
How did we get on Swiss Chalet?
Well, I'm searching for a sponsor, and one of them said, "Hey, we're going to sponsor."
Then in that case, I love it.
Thank you. We'll edit that out. Thanks, Frank. You just edit that out. That'd be great. Who's up next?
As Sandy said, I love to go back in time. Let's go back to 1875. Let me see if I'm going to say this right. Aristides.
Nope.
No. Yeah, I think that'll be good. Aristides won the first ever running of the Kentucky Derby. It was also the grand opening of Churchill Downs. Attendance was reported to be around 10,000 people. The race was 1.5 miles long at the time. It was later shortened to the traditional 1.25 miles. 20 years later, they did that. But the winner of the race received $2,850. Second place received $200. Aristides won.
But
A red chestnut.
I love this fact. 13 of the 15 jockeys in the race, including the winner, were African American.
Yeah.
In 1875. Fascinating. Okay.
That is cool.
All right. Am I up? I believe I am.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still at hockey here. 1979, in Game 3 versus the Rangers, Canadiens goalie Ken Dryden became the first player at his position ever to score a point in a Stanley Cup Finals game. He was credited with an assist on Jacques Lemaire's third-period goal. Montreal won the game 4-1 to take a 2-1 lead in the series, which they won 2 games later for their 4th consecutive Stanley Cup win. I'm telling you one thing right now, guys. I know you disagree with me, but the Habs were great in the 70s.
You are.
No, it's controversial.
You are stirring up a hornet's nest. There. We're gonna get a lot of calls.
Yeah,
All right.
guys. Sorry, but I got to say
All
it.
right.
I just got to say it.
When did the rule about them having all the access to French Canadian players stop? Was that when the draft
That's a great
started?
question.
In the late 60s?
Yeah, because
until then,
yeah.
they had proprietary rights to any French Canadian player, right?
They had
that's
all
why,
Quebec locked down.
Yeah, they had. So
Yeah.
you could. There was like a regional draft, right?
Was it
So
an
like
unwritten rule or was it?
no, I think it was a
rule?
formal thing that the
Yeah.
Canadians had. I think the Leafs also had like first right of refusal
Yeah.
for Toronto players, and the Bruins had Massachusetts players
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, but that's why the Canadians had that dynasty for so long. Was like they had first rights to all those guys
Yeah.
who were the great players. I think by the late 70s there was a draft
That's gotta fade
that was
out.
gone, but
Yeah.
because they drafted Lafleur and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, that helps.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
They absolutely did, because when Bellevaux was playing in Quebec City, because Quebec City was like they're basically just churning them out to Montreal. They're all these players. Like they basically were just like, well, we just know we have him. Like we're just gonna they don't have any competition because they know they're gonna get him. So it's just a matter of time until they say, okay, now I can play with the Habs.
Yeah, and there was
There's
no
no
like,
option.
no Rule 5
No one's gonna
draft
take him.
where
No.
like Boston could steal
No.
a guy from you or whatever.
No.
Okay, here we go again to try to talk about football more in this program. In 2008, in front of over 80,000 fans at Wembley Stadium, Portsmouth FC won the English FA Cup Finals, defeating Cardiff City 1-0. The only goal of the game was scored by Nwankwo Kanu in the 37th minute. The FA Cup was first competed for in 1872, and is the oldest national football competition in the world. And this was only the second time Portsmouth won the FA Cup, and their first and only time winning it was about 70 years earlier in 1939.
Boom.
Good for Portsmouth.
Lost a lot of money on that game.
No, you didn't.
1992. Betsy King set a record by winning the LPGA championship by 11 strokes over 3 other golfers who tied for second place. She shot 17 under par over 4 days at the Bethesda Country Club in Maryland. It was the 5th of 6 LPGA major titles King won in her career, and both of her records for this tournament stood until 2010, when Christy Kerr shot a 19 under par to win the tournament by 12 strokes. Pretty impressive. That's really leading the field there.
When you lap the field by 11 strokes, you're,
Well, I know we've been trying to get more bowling facts on the show.
We are.
So May 17th, 2012, Hall of Famer Johnny Petriglia, I'm going to go with, became the first bowler in PBA history to win a national or seniors title in 6 different decades. He won his first national title age 19 in 1965 in Fort Smith, Arkansas. So in 65, he wins at 19, and then his seniors, he wins in 2012. 6 different decades, this guy's a winner. Clearly a Hall of Famer. We love our bowling on this show, as everyone knows.
This is where one of us should chime in with a bowling anecdote.
Frank, you've got a lot of bowling talk.
Frank, come on. That's why you're here, is for bowling and football content.
Bowling fans, you're welcome.
Stop writing us emails and complaining. Okay, Matt, do you have one left?
Sure. How about 2011? Boston's Tyler Seguin had 2 goals and 2 assists in the second period of the Bruins' 6-5 win over Tampa Bay in Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals, making him the first teenager to record 4 points in a playoff game since Trevor Linden did it with the Vancouver Canucks against Calgary in 1989.
Right on. Nice.
To be a teenager and scoring 4 points in a playoff game, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about those guys. You forget how young they were. Nate McKinnon enters the league at age 17. Right. That's insane. That's absolutely so young.
I don't have any left. I only have quick hits left.
Let's do quick hits.
Quick hits.
Quick hits, Michael.
Okay, 1995, May 17th, Dallas's Jason Kidd and Detroit's Grant Hill were named co-winners of the NBA Rookie of the Year award. They were the number 2 and number 3 draft picks, respectively, of the previous year's NBA draft. And the number 1 pick that year, Glenn Robinson from Purdue, who was taken by Milwaukee and was a good player, but didn't have the great career that those 2 guys picked right after him had. And so I think that's the only time the Rookie of the Year vote has ever been a tie.
I believe that's absolutely correct. Very rare, of course. Now, in 1981, Michael, like this, Islanders center Butch Goring scored a hat trick versus Minnesota in Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals, making him the first player in NHL history to score a playoff hat trick for 2 different teams. He had done it for the LA Kings 4 years earlier. How many people out there remember Butch Goring with the LA Kings?
Yeah, exactly.
Not too many.
How many people would get that question right? Like out of 100? None.
Oh, none. I would not know until.
No, I'm an Islanders fan. I wouldn't have got that.
Nope. Quick hit.
1979, quick hit. The Phillies defeated the Cubs 23-22 in a 9-inning game that featured 50 hits, 50 hits, and 15 walks issued between the 2 teams. Each team committed 2 errors. The game lasted 4 hours and 3 minutes.
Wow.
23-22.
That's quite a game. All right, 1998, Yankees pitcher David Wells threw a perfect game versus Minnesota in the Bronx. In his book, which is a masterpiece of literature, Wells would reveal that he was severely hungover that day, unlike, say, every other day.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. A perfect game. You don't ever want to poo-poo it, but go and check the box score from that day to see the Twins lineup from that day. It's Paul Molitor and like a softball team.
Yeah.
Like Brent Gates, John Shave, Alex Ochoa, Javier Valentin, Pat Mears, all those guys were in Minnesota's lineup that day. Now, again, it's a perfect game in the major leagues. But it was a good team for him to try to throw that against that day.
Yeah, but how many times do you also look at a lineup and go, this is going to be a terrible game, and they end up winning?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
exactly. It's the major leagues. All those guys can hit.
Every one of those guys you named, though, is like guys I can remember being on the bench for some other team.
Well, that's a little bit my point. Yeah. But he still got Paul Molitor out 3 times, so he was doing
fair
something
enough.
right.
There you go.
Perfect game. Like, that's only the second perfect game in Yankees history.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's an
So,
extraordinary feat.
no matter who you're throwing
of course.
it against.
Okay, let's jump in with 2014 because we want more football on this team.
Yeah, please. Come on.
In front of nearly 89,000 fans at Wembley Stadium, Arsenal defeated Hull City 3-2 to win the FA Cup final. The winning goal was scored by Aaron Ramsey in the 109th minute, and it began a streak of 3 consecutive FA Cups in 4 years. Arsenal has won the most FA Cups in history, 14, and are currently on a streak of 7 consecutive FA Cup final wins. And of course, the Arsenal are better known as the Cannons.
How about birthdays?
Okay, let's do
You guys
it.
feel like jumping into birthdays?
Let's do it.
All right. I got, what do I got here? I got 1952 NFL head coach and offensive coordinator Norv Turner.
Nice. Always looked like a turkey.
Oh.
Okay. Mike, you got one?
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Norv Turner's here. Gobble, gobble.
1969, two-time national champion at University of Miami, quarterback Craig Erickson, not to be confused with Canadian actor Craig Erickson, who I was in a rather ill-fated production of Lord of the Flies with.
Thank you so much.
He looked like he could have been. Craig Erickson's a very handsome guy.
Yeah,
he looked like he could have been a quarterback at University of Miami.
Sure.
But it's not him. Just for all those theater / sports fans out there.
Which one was born in
They're out there.
1969?
I don't think Craig. I think Craig's probably younger than the Craig I know.
Your
is
Craig.
probably probably a little younger.
Well, I'll tell you about who's old. In 1903, Hall of Fame Negro League center fielder Cool Papa Bell, one of the greats. He was born in 1903 on May 17th.
What's the quote? He was in bed before the light. If he'd go and he was so fast he flicked the lights out and be in bed before the light went out. Before light went out. Yeah.
Yep. One of the greats.
In 1985, on May 17th, it was the birth of four-time Pro Bowl NFL QB Matt Ryan. He was born, and I think they, had to put him in a blanket right away because he's got ice in his veins.
Matty Ice. Man, wasn't he unbelievable as a Colt? In 1970, and then by that I mean unbelievably bad. 1970.
Oh, he had a couple moments.
Awful. In 1970,
Don't bring it
UNC
up.
basketball player and head coach Hubert Davis. In 1970. Now we're fast forwarding a little bit here.
Yeah.
We're jumping all over the place because in 1956,
I love it.
boxing legend Sugar Ray Leonard was born.
Wow. Well, I got Mike with one.
I don't have any more marks, but I'll read one more.
Wow. Can you do it? Can you pull it off? It's a clutch moment.
A real peek
Don't
behind
sweat too
the
much.
curtain there.
Yeah, okay, sure. NBA and NCAA legend Danny Manning, born in 1966, of course, Danny and the Miracles. And he was a good NBA player, too. He got hurt a bit.
Well, if you go to the Clippers, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah, that's true, right? That's kind of. But Danny Manning, born on this day in 1966.
I'll close out the birthdays with 1982, six-time All-Star, four-time NBA champion point guard Tony Parker, who many believe was born in France. He was born in Belgium.
Oh, there you go.
We alluded to a draft in that amazing opening. Was there anything
Okay.
else you wanted to get in?
No,
wedding
let's
get to that.
Let's get to the draft. Other than just saying one of the deaths in 2011, Hall of Fame slugger Harmon Killebrew died.
Well,
Ooh.
Love Harmon Killebrew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big bopper. Let's move on.
Also a guy who finished his career with a really weird team, too.
That was
Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Like he played like 20 years for the Twins and then like
super weird.
yeah, super weird. Anyway, okay, let's get to the draft because Frank's
let's do
running out of
tape.
tape.
All right.
That's what we're using, right, Frank?
Well, we're jumping in because we want to talk about injuries.
Injury-shortened careers.
And careers that were going great, they had an injury, that didn't reach their full potential because of these injuries. And we've decided to, because we're trying to reach a broader audience, we have our four major sports, but also a wild card. Can be any other sport outside of the four majors.
Yes.
We're going to pick another person. And one of the questions that was asked during our conversations leading up to this was, can you pick someone who died and that hurt their career? No. Death cannot hurt your career. We're not going to be that sad.
That'll be a more morbid draft.
Yeah, we're not going to do a Thurman Munson like sadness right now.
No.
We're going to do that another time. Maybe the Halloween episode. Halloween episode.
There you go. Just a blown knee or something. That's as morbid as we're going to get for this.
That's all we need. That's all we need. So we're going to jump in and now let's Matt, you go first.
yeah,
here.
guys, I forgot to pick. I got the four major sports. I forgot to pick one outside. So while we go through this, I'm going to be thinking. I'm going to be racking my brain.
great. Okay.
So don't worry.
You can also steal one of mine if you want to.
We'll see. I'm going to go first. I'm going to start with. Gosh, where to go? I neglected basketball last time, and it didn't.
You're shouting again.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I'm just excited. I'm going to go with the NBA. I'm going to take Jay Williams.
Jay Williams.
okay.
Interesting. Okay.
2003 motorcycle accident.
Yeah.
Severed a nerve in his leg and basically ended his playing career.
sure
He was
did.
the second overall pick in the 2002 draft. What could have been there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. I will go to the NFL. And for me, this one is fairly obvious, and I guess you could argue it's for two sports, but I'll take him in the NFL. It's Bo Jackson. We all remember the hip injury that sort of ruptured and was like, by all accounts, pretty ghastly, and almost like could have been really bad for him. It's pretty amazing that he went back and played baseball for a few years after it. But he only went to one Pro Bowl. But he did average 5.5 yards per carry for his entire career, and I think he was just kind of starting to become the awesome force that he was. So I will take Bo Jackson as a football player.
Bo Jackson as a football player. Okay. Well, it's just super fun to double down, and I'm just going to go Bo Jackson in baseball.
Really?
Yeah, why not? Bo Jackson in baseball. I mean, for all the reasons Mike said. Could have been great. Had a lot of great moments.
Dick move.
But kind of fun. Kind of fun to have a double Bo Jackson, just because we've never done that before in our drafting, to have two guys pick the same guy. I'm taking Bo Jackson in baseball.
There you go.
Wow.
Matt, it's back to you.
A lot of imagination work there. Okay, I will go with...
you want to do the opening again?
Yeah.
Because I imagine it going well.
Yeah.
Do you want to see if I was right?
I just went for it, guys.
Yeah,
no
sure
regrets.
You don't say.
You know who else had no regrets?
Oh, here we go.
Oh, no.
Perfect.
No, this is, serious now.
Oh, sorry.
Mike, in our very first draft, you talked about this guy. You took him on your best pitchers to not win a Cy Young. I believe J.R. Richard.
Richard.
I love it.
J.R. Richard. He suffered a stroke on the field at the height of his career. He still holds the Houston Astros record for strikeouts in a season, I believe, with 313. But that was a devastating injury.
313 strikeouts
in a season.
Holy smokes.
When you hold the team record and Nolan Ryan and Mike Scott pitched there, you know you're pretty good. Okay, I'm going to go to hockey. I think you guys can probably... For me, in hockey, there was 3 guys, as far as I'm concerned. So any one of them is kind of the right answer. But
we know who you're taking.
Yeah. See, this is the thing.
Ooh.
You do, and you're right. So I'm going to take Mike Bossy.
Yeah.
Because I think his career, it ended. Like it was never. He never came back. He never tried to come. He just couldn't. But we all know the deal. He has the highest goals per game average in NHL history. He averages over 3/4 of a goal a game for his whole career. He had 573 goals in 10 seasons. He has 9 straight 50-goal seasons. No one's ever going to touch that.
No. Gretzky only had 8 in a row. Yeah, he's the only one.
Yeah, and Gretzky could. And Bossy also had 6 60-goal seasons.
Ooh.
And he has a career shooting percentage higher than both Lemieux and Gretzky. So even the averages, also he had almost as many assists as goals. So that's my pick for hockey. He retired at age 30.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think I'd probably say that might be outside the parameters since he is a Hall of Famer. So what more potential do you want? But that's fine. That's debatable if we're going there. But I'll let you do it. Mike, Matt, nobody else wants to talk.
Gosh,
it's your pick.
I know, but I'm asking: do you think that's fair to have Mike Bossy in there?
I had him on my list. I think that yes, he's an amazing player, but I think he could have done more. Yeah, like he only played 10 seasons, and he scored over 50 goals in 9 of them. So what could he?
I guess
if he played for 15.
I guess the what if is then. Does he break Gretzky? Like, does he end up setting the all-time goals record?
And that, by the way, is not being a dick about it. I just wondering what you guys, well, maybe being a dick about it, but more just questioning what our parameters are. But that's okay because I screwed up parameters before, as we all know.
Well, there was, to be clear, there was no parameter said that he couldn't be a Hall of Fame player. So you're saying you can't take
self-imposed parameters.
So you can't take Sandy Koufax then?
I wouldn't take Sandy Koufax because he's a Hall of Famer. I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it. But my parameters are different than yours. I thought if you achieve the Hall of Fame, unless you wanted sainthood, what more do you want?
Well, I think he wanted 10 more years.
Sure, don't we all?
I think we want to just go what could have been? You really wanted to see what they could have done.
Okay, sure. Here's someone who's definitely Mike will appreciate too. Rick DiPietro, goalie for the Islanders. I mean, that's an injury shortened career where the Islanders spent a lot of money and gambled on a big future.
Yeah.
And you had a guy who's 23-18, 30-24, 32-19, and then it starts to fade, and then eventually he's just so banged up and he's this is his nickname, Rickety. He was known as Rickety. So there's a guy who's injury prone.
Yeah.
And it's that's what was maybe
it was a 15-year contract.
It was giant the biggest contract I think as far as years.
But I think it was 15 years. Charles Wang signed it to it, and then like 2 years in, he was.
I'm going to dive into the details in that contract, but yeah, it's not great. But anyways, Rick DiPietro was a star who faded very quickly because injuries and he just couldn't stay out there.
Indeed.
So maybe a controversial pick as well, but I'll take it.
Okay.
Back to me.
Yep.
I'm gonna go to NFL. I'm gonna take the first pick of the NFL. And Sandy thought you might have taken this guy already, but Andrew Luck.
Yeah, I was thinking about it.
Andrew Luck. He in 6 years he made 4 Pro Bowls. Sorry.
Pro balls.
He was invited to 4 Pro Bowl. And in his final season in 2018, he was voted comeback player of the year, but it was still his final season. He threw 40 TDs in 2014, 39 TDs in 2018, but retired at age 29.
Yep.
You know, a series of lacerated kidney, injured ribs, torn cartilage, calf injury, concussion. Just, you know.
How many seasons did Luck play?
I think it was 5. Was it 5? 6?
I think it was 6 years.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I think it was 6 years, and he made the Pro Bowl in 4 of them. Does that make sense?
Because I want to circle back to how great it was that Andrew Luck retired. We ended up getting Matty Ice, Matt Ryan, which is so great. I'm just as a Colts fan, wasn't it great to have Matt Ryan on your team?
I just saw that this year coming too, the Colts will set a record. They'll have a different starting quarterback on day one for I think it's the 9th year in a row. Which
we've
no
just
one
been
has ever
cycling through everybody.
It's pretty amazing, yeah.
It was a total.
You had a lot of quarterback luck for about 20 years, and then, pardon the pun,
yeah.
But then now you're paying for it, yeah.
He's paying for it now. Andrew Luck was 6 seasons.
7 seasons.
7 seasons. Okay.
Well, hopefully,
he missed 1 year.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't play in 2017, but
hopefully, you just drafted your quarterback of the future. So.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. Obviously, this draft was a pivotal point for the Colts, but yeah, he 40 touchdown season. It was really depressing, and it still is. And let's move on.
Okay,
what could have been?
Yeah, that's a great pick. It is true.
Who is me, right?
Yeah.
I'll go to MLB, and I will take Eric Davis. Eric Davis has kind of been forgotten about a little bit. He was in our 30-30 or rather a power speed guy.
Yep.
Discussion. In 1987, Eric Davis had the first and only 30 home run, 50 stolen base season ever. And in a 162 game span, you're kind of picking. I realize that I'm sort of cherry picking stats here, but in 162 games between June 86 and 87, Eric Davis hit 308 with 47 home runs, 149 runs scored, 123 RBIs, and 98 stolen bases. In a 162 game span. That's how good he was. And if you remember in 1990, he dove for a ball and he lacerated his kidney during the World Series.
Yeah.
And it took him a long time to recover from that. His body didn't recover well. He had knee surgery. And then he kind of came back and started playing. And then he got diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
So he missed a whole nother round. And then he came back and played while he was still in recovery from cancer, and he was still really good.
Yeah.
I think Eric Davis, to your point about the Hall of Fame or not, I think Eric Davis was clearly a Hall of Fame level player, and the injuries and the cancer put the kibosh on that. But clearly he was a guy he was the most exciting player of the 80s when you watched baseball that I remember. You know what I mean?
agree, and I think just want to say I think you're both having a better draft than I'm having. I know that our judge doesn't get to hear that part of this probably, but they should not pick me.
Okay. You can make up for that right now with this pick.
You know what? You know what? I'm just doing this because you went to the Mike Bossy world, so I'm going to pull back and go Bill Walton in basketball.
There you go.
Because just to get back on track and make everybody feel better, especially when Matt goes ahead and picks somebody that's on that same world. We talked to him last episode, all the potential, still a Hall of Famer, but what could have been if he just had healthy feet, really. I know he had the leg surgery, but his feet were just such a problem for him. But obviously an amazing, legendary college player who should have been even better in the NBA.
Well, really one of the only healthy years he had, Portland won the championship, and he was the MVP of the league.
Yes.
That tells you, it just everything fell apart on him after that.
Over 30 surgeries.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. So he's
during his career.
He tried.
Yeah.
And at what era were those surgeries? Or that
exactly, right? You wonder
point.
now if they could have healed him up a little better.
That's a good point, Frank.
There's a lot of big guys who feet, man. That's the big thing. Greg Oden.
Today they just put athletic tape and say, "Go ahead, keep playing."
But Bill Walton. I mean, he's a polarizing figure. People they love him or hate him, but as a player, it could have been much better for him if he just stayed healthy. Matt, what you got?
All right, I'm going to do my NHL pick. So Sandy, I'm gonna kind of honor your
Sure.
style here.
Sure.
So you guys have both picked your NHL players. So with a shout out to both Hall of Famers like Mario Lemieux, and I'm not picking him, or Bobby Orr. You know, like obviously they both suffered or could have had even better, more amazing careers. But I want to shine a light on Cam Neely.
Yep.
He was a star. He had 55 goals in 89-90 and then 51 goals in 90-91. Then he gets injured in the playoffs of 91 on an Ulf Samuelsson hit.
Cheap shot, yeah.
Well, I'm not saying it's cheap shot one way or the other. I'm just saying that he
I don't think Ulf Samuelson's lawyers are listening. Right?
I think the general consensus is that it was.
But here's the thing. The hit not only injured his knee, but also apparently damages thigh muscle in a rare condition where the muscle calcifies and essentially turns to bone. So he was playing, he had like a chunk of bone in his thigh muscle.
Hey.
Like that's just like, so the knee, it's not just the knee, it's like this calcified muscle in his thigh. So he would never play more than 49 games in a season after that.
Yeah.
But he still scored 50 goals again once in the 93-94 season. He did it, like he played 49 games that year, but he scored 50 goals in 44 games.
And that much pain, and oh man, that's incredible. Yeah.
I just think Cam Neely, man.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, listen, once we got into the zone of you can have a Hall of Famer in there, that's a good pick.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go to I have to do my NBA pick now.
Yep.
And I'm going to take Grant Hill. I think people have forgotten a little bit how good Grant Hill was when he played in Detroit. He was an all-star in each of his first 6 NBA seasons, including his rookie year. That doesn't happen very much, except for the strike season. He averaged 21, 8, 6, and a steal and a half per game in his first 6 years in Detroit, like from his rookie year on. Then he went to Orlando, and he had all kinds of same thing. He had foot surgeries and all kinds of problems. But Grant Hill was also the leading voter in All-Star games. Like he was going to be the guy. The NBA was sort of preparing him to replace Jordan. He was going to be the next big star that was going to like take over the league, kind of thing. And his leg just fell apart. He was third in MVP voting in his second season behind MJ and Karl Malone. That's how good he was. I know you're making that face because he went to Duke, but that's
I am making that face because
it doesn't change the fact of how great he was.
Yeah, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Could have been.
And he's a Hall of Famer. So I mean, we should just have a
basketball Hall of Famer.
I guess we should have just said, let's have a draft about Hall of Famers who could have been better than Hall of Famers. I guess.
I don't know that's
it's not a very catchy title.
No, I don't know. I jumped in and did the Bill Walton to satisfy the new criteria that's happening.
When I shouted the intro today, I was trying to
look. The stakes couldn't be lower, but it's been weird for me.
Okay, well, it's your pick, isn't it?
Let's make it more weird. I haven't actually picked a football player or a wild card, and you know what? I'm going wild card, guys, because we want to get more. Tennis listeners out there, I'm going with Monica Seles.
Yeah.
Monica Seles, who was stabbed in the back during a match. I mean, that's pretty rare. And still came back, was never the same. Probably not the same psychologically as well as physically. You're always going to be looking around going, am I going to get hurt again when I'm just sitting here at a tennis match? So I actually I'm pretty deep into tennis in the 90s, and I really liked Monica Seles. And you could see the difference, obviously, when she came back. But she was amazing in her heyday. And I think that injury just completely derailed what she was going towards.
To be clear, Monica Seles in the Tennis Hall of Fame.
Yeah, because that's the new parameter, guys.
No, that's not. You're not.
You get a knife
it's
in the
not
back?
like you just had that pick now. You had that waiting. That was the first one. You're acting like,
Monica Seles, guys. If only she could have been better than the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, she never won anything.
It's me, right?
Sure is.
Okay, so I just thinking off the top of my head, racking my brain. So this is another Hall of Fame, but what could have been? So I think this will qualify again. Just not even. I'm just Tiger Woods.
Okay,
Tiger Woods. You don't like that. The injuries really.
Yeah, man. Like he's almost not the best of all time.
Yeah,
but I
Too bad.
But
okay, you got to get off my case about Mike Bossy now. He just took Tiger Woods.
I just did. You're right. I just jumped right off your back.
I don't have a list.
Yeah, that's right. We offered our list.
Whose fault is that?
Yeah.
Well, Tom Brady did make a season. Do you want to miss a season with injury? Do you want to pick him?
Yeah, maybe. If only you couldn't be.
Wait, I'm the bad guy
Super
now?
goat. Yeah, now you are, unfortunately.
Yeah. Because Tiger Woods is
All
way
right, give
worse
me a
than Mike
list.
Patton.
Give me your list. Give me your list. Well, I have to pick a.
You picked. You got to live
Tiger
with it
Woods
now.
It is.
Yep, Tiger Woods.
Okay.
I think
All
he
right.
could have done. I think he could have. Well, we all know that if he played more, he could have done more.
Sure, okay. Yep. Okay,
If
sure.
he played
sure.
more, he could have done more.
Okay, great. I got my
He
football
didn't do
pick all
enough.
loaded up, guys.
My non-major for sports picks is Cheryl Miller, who is, of course, probably, certainly of her time, the greatest college basketball player, women's college basketball player of the 80s. She was a 3-time Naismith winner as NCAA Player of the Year, 2-time champ at USC. She was drafted by several, not the NBA, but several men's leagues after coming out of college. Crazy. And I guarantee you, if she blew her knee in 87 while training for the Pan Am Games for the U.S. Olympic team, if she had not blown her knee, she would have played in one of those leagues. They would have made room for her to play in those leagues. Yeah. Now, maybe it would have been a publicity thing or whatever, but she would have played, and she would have been able to play with those men. And she got deprived of that chance because she tore her knee so badly, she never really recovered. Like, she kept hurting herself again, and she never got a chance. So she became a great coach and a great broadcaster. But I think she would have really rewritten some kind of rules. There was no WNBA, don't forget, in 87, right? The WNBA didn't start for another 10 years. So she had no real great women's league to play in, but I think she would have really opened some eyes as a professional player in some men's leagues, either in Europe or the States. So that's my pick.
It's a good pick. Well, this draft is all over the place. I was going to be a dick and pick some giant in the football world and go, man, if only they played one more game. If only. LaDainian Tomlinson had one more season. Maybe he would have had 1,000 touchdowns. If only Thurman Thomas had played more football. Guys, would have been great. Emmitt Smith, wish he played till he's 50. But I'm not going to be a dick.
It's too late. Like, that was the most dickish sounding 30 seconds.
I like how we just let him go
podcast.
on.
Yeah,
like we weren't going to jump in.
We're just
like, do what you want. Make your pick.
By the way, Sandy, if you keep saying I'm not going to be a dick, it's because the other 3 guys in the room are thinking you're a dick.
How's that high road?
Hey, listen. Frank doesn't think I'm a dick.
His silence says plenty.
You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and pick Andrew Luck again. Why not? Didn't we couldn't say you couldn't pick a second guy? I'll just go Bob Sanders. I love Bob Sanders. Anyone that came through the Colts system and anywhere else, Bob Sanders is going to be my final pick. Great player, but was always hurt. And I think every time he was on the field, massive difference in the game. Yes. But he was always hurt. And
Defensive player of the year one year.
Yeah, and I just, oh my God. The one healthy year, I think, is what the answer is there. Right. But yeah, I wish he could have been more healthy or stayed healthy, because I think he was definitely a surefire Hall of Famer. That's it. That's where we wrap it up. So there's a lot of players on here. We'll definitely want to jump in onto that draft and maybe review these lists, because these are long. There's a lot of different things. And
that was a lot of picks.
A lot of arguments and a lot of me being a jerk.
And a lot of dickishness.
I think
but kind of funny dickishness, I got to admit. From all of us had a little bit of spice.
We'll find out from the listeners.
Yeah.
I think we're learning we need to define our drafts a bit better.
That's true. Well, I actually can agree with that, yeah.
I can enjoy the entertainment value of it being vague.
So if I had gone with your list here, may I, Mike, see who for the wild card?
It's right there in front of you.
What, these 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably wasn't going to. So you had Margaret Connolly.
Yeah.
But I can't
That was my 3rd pick.
But I can't read your writing.
Margaret Connolly.
Give her a shout out.
I didn't
it was
pick
Maureen
her.
Connolly, isn't it?
No, or maybe it is.
And Marco Van Basten was mine in soccer, if I were going to go soccer world.
Oh, I don't know.
The Dutch sensation who got injured and was always
You're right. It's Maureen Connolly. Pardon me, I wrote it wrong. Maureen Connolly. I was going to put her in, but I thought if I make her my pick, no one's going to know who that is.
Yeah, and
I'm going to lose the draft because people be like,
but
she deserves a shout out because
yeah, for sure.
She won each of the last Grand Slam tennis tournaments she played in from 1952 to 1954. And 2 weeks after winning her 3rd straight Wimbledon, she was in a horrible horse riding accident which broke her fibula and ended her career at guess what age? 19.
Oh.
19, yeah.
Like, she didn't even get to play till she was 20 and won 9 Grand Slams.
Yeah.
She was. I did not know. Obviously, I called her Margaret at first. I did not know a lot about Maureen Connolly, and I think people should.
Yeah.
So that was why I wanted to have her picked. But I figured whoever was our judge wouldn't know who she was either. So
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, I think sometimes in this draft we want to pick players that we're personally,
well, you're trying to win.
Well, no, but personally familiar with.
Yeah,
no, I'm
yeah.
saying like I think it's totally fair to say like I don't really know who that was. I looked her up. I should shut her out, but I'm not going to pick her because it doesn't seem fair. Whereas I think most of the other players, for example, in this draft, I think we all know exactly who they are. It's not someone that's just like, oh, I saw a name.
Do you think people? Do you think our judge will know Tiger Woods though?
I don't know because Tiger Woods had so much potential to
I know,
to
and then he
win.
kind of disappeared. Right
So if you guys had forgotten, you're telling me you just would have picked these names out of if you had to just come up with a name, you would have come up with that name? No.
Monica
I don't think
Seles?
so.
What did you
Oh,
just-
Monica
Yes.
Seles, you might have come up
Okay,
with.
we're
Yeah,
wrapping
okay,
this
fair
up.
enough.
Let's go to the judge.
For the love of God.
All right. Well, we all had different ideas as to how to approach this particular draft. So we'll see if our judge of the week helps us to sort it out. And of course, the judge also brings her own criteria as well. So it's going to be really interesting to have a fourth voice here. But I'll jump into it. Nate Corddry is an actor living in Los Angeles, California. He got his start in the theater, earning his equity card after numerous summers at the Williamstown Theater Festival. Film and TV credits include For All Mankind, Perry Mason, The Heat, High School, Gaslit, Mindhunter, Mom, 30 Rock, New Girl, Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, and The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. There's so many credits. In fact, I already see like 3 missing. He's a graduate of Colby Sawyer College and is about to graduate from the Harvard Extension School with a master's in English. Please welcome Nate Corddry. You're here.
Oh, man.
You
Wow.
made it.
Very impressive.
What a bio.
Yeah, it is. You've kind of beaten everybody else we've had on here so far, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I have?
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, in like the world you are a professional in, yes. I mean, we've had some folks who ran for, you almost got a Cy Young. We've had some champs in athletics,
Yeah.
maybe Nate, maybe we don't qualify, but
No.
definitely as far as the acting
Sandy,
credits. And,
Sandy, you left out Bruins fan for the listeners. For
well,
people visually
I-
watching.
so you thought that might not be intentional, but for those just listening, Nate is currently sporting his Bruins jersey. He's got a Fenway Park sign behind him. Hardcore Boston, every sport. Is that right, Nate?
Yeah, unfortunately. I shouldn't say unfortunately. I've been we've had a nice run in the 21st century. But yeah, I know you guys are proud Canadians, and I'm making broad assumptions about your NHL teams. I just assumed Leafs, which was foolish of me. That's like assuming you're all polite and you apologize too much, which is just garbage.
Screw you, Nate.
Exactly. Thank you. Now we're onto something. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I feel like I haven't been. I watched Game 7 against the Panthers at a Boston. There's one Boston bar in Los Angeles, and I feel like I haven't. I feel like I needed to. I've avoided the story basically online, but I thought, yeah, this is probably best to just like. I need to have people tell me that my team sucks and that they blew it for me to. So I need to process this grief. I have to feel like I've been keeping it at arm's length. So here I am in a.
That's one of the official 5 stages, I think, is putting the jersey back on.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. This is stage 4, I think.
You
You
had a
have to
great
bury
season.
it.
You had a great season. Great
Yes.
regular season.
Yeah. And
Yes.
and really the thing to do once you're depressed and thinking about your team, either they choked or they blew it, or a team that's losing in the playoffs, to start to think about injuries. And that's a perfect segue into this draft that we've worked on, which of course is athletes who had injuries that affected their career. Now, this has been what's been spicy about it, is we all had our own agendas as to how we define that. Some of them are Hall of Famers even that I guess could have done better. I don't know how, but that's something we had a discussion about, or it's folks that never really got anywhere because they were injured pretty early on. But Nate, that's really up to you to decide. And I guess the first thing we want to ask when you jump into this is, who are the players or athletes that jumped out to you and you're like, okay, that one for sure, and that you thought should be on this list? And if you want to take it sport by sport, that's allowed too.
You mean out of the names that you guys presented to me, or just in my own point of view?
Let's go with the names we presented, and then let us know from what we've missed maybe later on.
Yes. Here's what jumps out at me, I think, the most. Monica Seles, that's probably the number one to me. I know she's the wild card pick because she's not one of the four majors. But if you want to add extra points for like trauma, she's probably, she's way up there. Certainly on the list of players that you guys presented to me, her story is the most horrifying. So I feel like she gets extra points. Andrew Luck, as far as the NFL players go, I think is for sure. That I starred that one. And it's in terms of baseball, I didn't even know who this guy was. And then I did a bit of a deeper dive into his life. The Astros pitcher, J.R. Richard.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow. I had no idea his story. 30 years old, only 30 when his career, he won 107 games. And the fact that he ended up he lost tons of money and divorced and business deals and ended up homeless and destitute and just oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
So that's another layering of trauma. So I'm drawn to that.
Great.
You are an actor.
Yeah, exactly. And Eugene O'Neill is my favorite playwright. Basketball.
We should have known this first before we picked.
Yes, exactly.
I think we might be into episode 15 or 16 now, and I think that might be the first reference to Eugene O'Neill. So thank you so much for doing that.
The guy
who us up a bit, Nate. Thank you.
I'm surprised the guy who almost won a Cy Young didn't mention.
Bob Tewksbury did not mention Eugene O'Neill, which is such a mistake for him.
Despite being a New Englander, he was not.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
New Hampshire hammering Chekhov.
New Hampshire's own. Well, maybe he's a Thornton Wilder fan.
I think that's what it is.
Reference.
I think that's what it is.
The house Tewksbury talked to us from looked like it was from an O'Neill play, though, didn't it? It was kind of this rural country estate. It looked like he could have shot Long Day's Journey right there at his own house. Anyway, that's too much O'Neill for a sports podcast.
He's in Maine and you hear seagulls in the background the whole bit. You're right. That was all day.
Wow. That's remarkable. Basketball wise, that's probably out of the four majors I know the least about. So what is it? Jay Williams, Bill Walton, and Grant Hill. Walton, I just feel like he succeeded. So he played 468 games. He won, 2 NCAA titles and 2 NBA titles. Sixth Man of the Year. It was an MVP. Like, how much more can you do?
Yep.
Grant Hill, played 1,000 games. 1,026, I believe. Jay Williams, to me, is he had the shortest career, but was he extraordinary? Did he show extraordinary promise when he did play in the NBA? Were there flashes of brilliance? I don't know. He was an amazing college player at Duke, but Bill Walton seems like a hard no. I'm leaning towards Jay Williams. And then what am I leaving out? Oh, hockey.
Yeah.
I mean, Cam Neely, I remember the first game back against Pittsburgh when everyone in the building knew his first shift he was going to try to kill Ulf. Even today, hearing the name Ulf Senwesen, I get heartburn. But he had such an accomplished career. He could have been greater, but with the time that he had, 726 games is pretty substantial. Rick DiPietro, I didn't know that he was the first overall pick as a goalie, which is so rare. But my issue with him was that did he ever show greatness? I know I checked from 05 to 08, those 3 seasons, he had a combined 88 wins. And that's pretty substantial.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But he's a major bust, especially being a first overall pick. But it's not the biggest bust. That's not what we're arguing.
And what was his contract again, Mike, that he signed? DiPietro?
It was 15 years long. I don't remember the dollars, but I know that it was 15 years long. And as an Islanders fan, Nate, I can assure you, no, he was never amazing. Like he was good, but you never were like, oh my God, let's lock this guy up until he's 48 years old. And
I've got him at 15 years, $67.5 million contract back in 2006.
There you go.
I think you feel pretty good about going out and buying the jersey when you hear about that contract. You're like, this guy's going to be around for a while. I'm getting that.
Yeah.
How much is a DiPietro jersey on eBay right now? Is it under $10?
I can see if I can find one.
Not like a game used, just like a DP. Like how many dudes are rocking a DiPietro jersey?
Yeah, like a clearance at Dick's Sporting Goods clearance.
Right.
It was also the era of the Captain Highliner logo for the Islanders, I believe, too. So you got a double strikes there again.
Yeah,
double negative.
Well, I found one right away for $100 Canadian.
Whoa! Did he win? Did he like win a game in it? Did he win?
Nothing special, just a CCM official. So Nate, CCM is like super Canadian. Every kid had at least one bike on his block. There's a CCM bike,
of course,
and stick and equipment. So that's it. That's for sure. But anyway, $100 if you want it.
No, thank you. But thank you for the offer. Mike Bossy to me is the one that jumps out for sure. Because he was truly great and also a winner. So yeah, for me, it's probably Bossy, I guess, when we talk about hockey players. But I gotta say, Monica Seles is like, I almost want to give Monica Seles like 3 votes because I do think she's the most significant.
Yeah, I think being stabbed in the back while on the court is not something you're going to see. Hopefully, ever again.
That was the worst injury. Yeah.
And as Nate alluded, the mental health problems there that affected her afterwards. She was constantly looking over her shoulder, literally looking over her shoulder, and very nervous all the.
And she was so young when it happened too, right? Like she had already accomplished so much, but she was still like literally a kid when that happened. It's terrible.
Did we lose Sandy? Did Sandy freeze, or is he having a stroke?
I think Sandy froze, and that that's a 2-point deduction from his team. Is the
yes,
or freeze.
That's correct.
But please continue. He will. Let's see.
Now the next question we had for you, Nate, was: did you have players that came to mind for you that you wanted to mention that none of us drafted?
Yes, absolutely. And this is all seen through the prism of my Boston sports bias. So
yes,
I apologize. Baseball, there's 2. I mean, Tony Conigliaro.
Right. Yeah.
He was the fastest player in history to hit 100 home runs. He had like the perfect swing for Fenway Park. He hit for average, he hit for power. He was from Boston. He was like he was Catholic. He was like this fucking like New England god. And again, talking about trauma, he was beamed on August 18th, 1967 by Jack Hamilton. I had an uncle who was at that game. He was sitting in the bleachers.
Wow.
So he had lots of comebacks, but he never lived up to the hope that he was going to be, the next Ted Williams.
No, yeah, and that 67 team too, that was the dream, like Red Sox team, like they were going to be. It's hard to imagine, maybe they win the World Series that year if he's on that team. He also was very young when that happened too, if I'm right too, right?
Yeah, I think he was 23 or something.
Yeah,
The impossible dream. Yeah. So Tony Conigliaro for baseball, also Jimmy Pearsall, who is the Fear Strikes Out.
That's right, the Anthony Perkins movie. That's right. Yeah,
exactly. He wasn't he made the All-Star team a couple of times, and he was a really good defender, but he wasn't like a Hall of Fame player. And then I'm not a huge basketball fan, but the 2 that jump out at me as a Celtics fan are, of course, Reggie Lewis,
right,
who he played 450 games, so he was around for a while, but he averaged 17 and 4.
We part of the ruling we had, which we didn't tell you, is we decided we wouldn't go as morbid as death. In ending our, we decided that we would keep it to injury rather than someone dying young.
Oh, you're really limiting yourself.
Yes, I know. I know. It wasn't my idea, but yeah. I do love that you went there, though. That's fantastic.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to go down there an even darker road.
Okay, fantastic.
Which in terms of Celtics history, there is no darker road than Len Bias.
Yes.
Which is the only reason why I've never done cocaine in my life. And I was surrounded by it growing up in the suburbs of Boston. But I was told that because of Len Bias dying, supposedly the first time he did cocaine on the night that he was drafted, who knows if that is true or not, I was 10. And I was like, okay, if you do cocaine, you die. Not true. However,
No.
You're getting a public service announcement in favor of cocaine is what's going on.
Live your life. Everything in moderation.
So I'm back. Hi, everybody.
We're talking about cocaine.
We're just discussing cocaine.
I just got a text saying if you look up Rick DiPietro jerseys on eBay, your Wi-Fi will shut down immediately. That is the one thing you can't do. But no, we don't have to worry about it. We can pick up where we left off. We talked about Monica Seles. Nate, where were we at? Do you remember when you saw me?
We were talking while you were gone about Nate had a couple of picks that people we left out. They're all Boston guys, and he went to people who died prematurely. He went to the dark zone. So we applaud him for that.
Okay.
There was talk of Len Bias, and yeah.
Okay. Anybody else you want to add to the list, Nate, or was your dark list completed?
Should I go back over that, or
sure? Let's do it. Why not? Just in case.
Great. Baseball wise, all of these are seen through. All my choices are through the baseball sports prism. Excuse me. All of these choices are through the Boston sports prism. Okay. So baseball is. Of course, Tony Conigliaro, who's the fastest guy to hit 100 home runs in the history of baseball.
Yep.
Got beamed on August 18th, 1967. Could have been the next Ted Williams. Had the perfect swing for Fenway Park. And then Jimmy Pearsall from Fear Strikes Out. Yep. He wasn't a Hall of Fame player.
Right.
He was a great player and amazing defender, but just the fact that he battled mental illness his entire career limited his ability.
They didn't make a movie about Eric Davis, did they?
No, they did not.
I made a movie about Jimmy Pearsall. So
I saw, Eric Davis is the one that I sort of breezed by because I was like, really? But then, but the numbers are back it up. The numbers are there. I didn't realize how great he was for a short. He had an amazing swing. That's that.
Yeah,
he was playing in Cincinnati, incredible swing.
And Carl Malden as Eric Davis's father.
Every movie from the 80s had to have Carl Malden as somebody's dad.
Well, Fear Strikes Out reference. I hope I got that right. I got that right.
And Rod Steiger.
Thank you.
Chris Sabo.
That's as Chris Sabo. Jeez. Yeah. Okay.
And Brian Dennehy as Pete Rose.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
Reggie Lewis and Len Bias are the two Boston heartbreaks for sure. Len Bias being, of course, the biggest catastrophe. But I was just saying before you fell off the Zoom, Sandy, that Len Bias is the reason why I've never done cocaine in my life, because I
scared you.
I thought, okay, if I do this, I'm going to die. So I have not enjoyed cocaine. Do you guys have much experience with cocaine?
I actually went the other way. I heard the story and then decided to do coke, which was really dumb.
I can't remember who it was, Nate, who said, I remember years later, somebody saying that the reason Michael Jordan was able to win 6 championships was because Len Bias never played in the NBA.
Wow.
That he was this. I know this was some kind of, I can't remember who it is, so I shouldn't be making the quote, but somebody was saying that Bias was Jordan's nightmare. Physically, matchup wise, he'd had to play Boston all the time. He'd had to get through Boston to get to, you know what I mean? That Bias was that good.
Wow. That's an incredible quote.
Yes. If only I could attribute it to someone other than me.
I think it was Carl Malden.
Yes.
I think that was Rod Steiger.
Okay, well,
it was Eric Davis, actually.
We're going to agree to disagree.
Isn't that the famous line Rod Steiger delivers on the waterfront?
Well,
what's about Len Bias?
Oh,
don't talk about
that's right. He talks about Len Bias. That's right. Yeah, you could have been Len Bias.
You knew it was
right. So those are the ones that jumped out at me. Piersall, Reggie Lewis, Len Bias, and Tony Canigliaro.
Yeah, those are good choices, and I get that's the Boston lens, but
Yeah.
no, those are good ones for sure. Well, I feel like we've done a pretty good review here, Nate. Very thorough, by the way. Thank you so much for that. And so, what do you think at the end of the day? Team 1, 2, or 3? How are you feeling about this?
Well, team 1, Neely, I can't quite get behind because he had so much success. Luck for sure. Let's give 2 points for Luck. JP Richard, I had no idea who he was, and I pride myself on that kind of like weird baseball knowledge. So I'm gonna get 2 for that. Jay Williams, was he that great? Was he going to be incredible? I'm gonna give a half a point for Jay Williams. Tiger Woods, I'm deducting 2 points because that's madness.
Yeah.
Thank you.
2, yes. Team 2, Bob Sanders. Bob Sanders, he's a safety. I mean, how important are safeties? A great player, but a lot of tackles, a Pro Bowler, an incredible player.
Yeah.
But he also had a pretty long career too. I'm going to give him one point. Rick DiPietro, 2 points for Rick. Bo Jackson, who now the latest news I'm sure you guys have heard.
Yes,
he's had hiccups for a year.
Yes.
Godspeed, Bo. I hope he has I guess he's having a procedure to get his hiccups taken away. Is that true, Mike?
I don't know about the surgery, but that sounds like a living nightmare.
Yes.
He has had hiccups for a year. That is, I mean, it just seriously, that's torture. If I have it for half an hour, you start to go a little nuts.
Wasn't that on The Simpsons where the guy had the hiccups for a year and he just kept going, kill me, kill me. I mean, I don't want to laugh at Bo Jackson. I don't want him coming to my house and snapping me in half, but I just wanted to say that's
it's such a weird addition to the myth of Bo Jackson that he's had hiccups for a year.
Yes.
Yep.
An unwanted epilogue.
Yes, let's give him 2 checks. Bill Walton, no, I'm going to give a negative check for Bill Walton because of all. But Monica Seles gets 3. Now Bo Jackson again. This is for Team 3. 2 checks for Bo Jackson. 2 checks for Mike Bossy. Mike Bossy, I think, is the hockey selection. Grant Hill, again, 1,000 games, and he was a great player. Averaged 16 and 6. But compared to Bill Walton and Jay Williams, I'm going to give Grant Hill 1 check. And then Cheryl Miller. This is a really interesting one. If she had come around, 3 years ago, like if she was around today, she was arguably the greatest female basketball player, like period.
Yes.
So she would be dominating the WNBA right now. She would have probably 5 titles and she would probably be considered the greatest WNBA player, period. So I'm going to give that 2 checks as well. I think that's a really good selection. So let's add up the checks. Team 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4th, the Tiger Woods sunk you, Team 1.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're right.
So Team 1 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 total with the negatives. Team 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Man, 9 points for Team 2. Monica Seles really puts you over the edge. And Team 3, this is going to be a close one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for Team 3. The winner, Team 2, please reveal yourself.
Yes, Team 2 is myself. That Monica Seles, of all the picks, I didn't know that would be so rewarded, but certainly it deserves to be. And I was pissy about Bill Walton. I did that pick going, we're picking Hall of Famers now? Bill Walton. And then I got punished. That's perfect. Matt, in full disclosure, didn't know we were picking a wild card and just said, I don't know, Tiger Woods. And we laughed pretty hard. So
what could it have been, though? Could have had a few more titles.
I mean, that's pretty hard. I don't know, but this is why we all laughed, because it just seemed like completely outrageous.
I feel like you missed an opportunity with the golfer Stewart.
Payne Stewart, died in a plane crash. That's right.
Yeah. Again,
the all morbid team. Nate, you would have
morbid. My goodness.
Can I come on and play if we do an all morbid team?
Yeah,
that's another draft. Yeah, that's right.
What about an all ugly team?
Just writing that down. All ugly
players
team.
That's fantastic. We haven't even thought of that one yet.
Good ugly uniforms too, but
let's get into their literal faces. Who's the pitcher for the Brewers in the 80s? Who was in Major League, actually? Oh, God.
Vukovic.
Pete Vukovic. Yeah. Look him up. See what his
Very
jersey
handsome.
is.
The all ugly team. Well, who did we see? There was a guy I looked up, and I'm not making this up. His last name was Dick Shot. They would talk to you guys about this guy, right? He was a major leaguer back in early 20th century. His last name was Dick Shot, and his nickname was Ugly. And we were like, he doesn't need that.
No.
Wow.
No.
You don't need to pile on a terrible nickname when you've got a last name.
He must have been a real ass. I mean, I would be an asshole too if my last name was Dick Shot.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nate Dick Shot's coming back for the all ugly team. So you got that sorted out. Thank you so much. Nate, fantastic job. Thank you so much. We will have you back. If you suggest a draft, we have to have you back. So we'll definitely want to have you here. Yeah.
Oh, it's my great pleasure. Thank you, gentlemen. It's been really
Thanks
fun.
so much.
Thanks, Nate.
Thanks, Nate.
Thanks, guys. Super fun.
Okay, that was great. That was wild, let's just say. Let's wrap it up. I'm Sandy Jobin Bevins.
I'm Matt Gibbon.
I'm Mike Sheriff.
And this has been This Day in Sports. We'll see you again soon.